All right. What is up, everybody?
Hey.
Welcome to the final hour of the Impact 24-hour marathon.
Impactathon!
This is it. We have actually made it. I can't believe this actually went way faster than I thought. But when I think back to when we started, right? Me too.
Yeah.
But it feels like a long time ago when I think back to when we kicked off.
I'm not quite sure what day it is. I just know that time happened.
Time did happen. A lot of time has happened.
That's about it.
And here we are. Guys, we cannot tell you, we are so grateful for everything that you've done to help this community race to 100,000 likes on Facebook. We are insanely grateful and really, really grateful for the way that you guys support each other, the way that you guys really interact with us, interact with the content, share the content. It is incredibly meaningful to us and important to the long-term vision of the company, as you guys well know. All right, as promised, I said that I would answer every question that came in by 6 a.m. this morning, so we've got them locked in. We have 34, I think, questions to get through. Let's see how we do. Yep. So, all right.
Prioritize that feed.
Say what that feed?
Prioritize
that live feed.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. We're going to get through these because I have another podcast to do at 10. So we're going to make magic happen. These are going to be some of the best answers ever. Yeah. And just as a reminder, we've got a grand prize coming your way. This prize is massive. It's all the 24 smaller prizes that we've been doing through all the segments, all through the day and night, and put into one big grand prize, $2K worth of value. This is a big, bad mamma jamma. And if you want to win, you have to correctly identify the 7 Easter eggs that we have planted throughout the entire feed. And full disclosure, while I have been changing my shirt throughout the Impactathon, they are not the Easter eggs. So you don't need to send that in.
Neither are my outfits.
Perfect. Well said. All right. Or the dogs. Yes, another thing that we're dressed randomly, so we thought people might think. So no, none of those. All right. The giveaway question. Name all of the special guests from this live stream. Name all of the special guests from this live stream to win this segment's basket of goodness. Absolutely. Woo. So here is the basket of goodness. You got Ryan Holiday's book, The Daily Stoic. You've got Panda Planner. You've got Q&A a day. You've got an Amazon Echo Dot Quest products, Impact Theory swag. All manner of goodness. All right.
Love it.
We're now officially in.
Yes.
To Q&A.
All right. So our first question comes from Corinne Davis. When does it make the most sense to retain a media company from the get-go or after you've reached a certain metric?
So this really comes down to what you're trying to accomplish, what your budget is, quite frankly, because that's a very real consideration, something to focus on as you're making that decision. I think there's so much that you can do when you're by yourself, and I think that you can probably get pretty big long before you need to do that. And also, as I imagine budget is a constraint, you want to be having an eye towards monetization. And to not get yourself into trouble, I would say really only invest the amount of money into it that you're willing to lose entirely. And then up to that point, you've got to turn profitability. So whether that's going to be advertising on your channel, depending on which platform you're building, whether that's going to be doing sponsorships with brands, like whatever that is, whatever your niche is, whatever the value proposition that you're bringing to the world is, but you need to find a way to monetize that. Otherwise, it becomes just a sinkhole for cash. All right.
Well said. All right. This next one comes from Laura K. Chamberlain. Do you think it's a better strategy to invest a lot of time in building a YouTube channel and related brand today behind the curve, or to keep building that brand with less fervor and focus on diving deep into getting amazing at using my skills and passions in the world of VR, where I'd be more ahead of the general public so I can offer excellence when it becomes mainstream?
So I will say this. Tomorrow, someone is going to start a YouTube page, and in the next 12 months, it is going to be a phenom. It will blow past 1 million subscribers, and it will all happen because that person is insanely talented. They spent a very long time getting incredibly good at something, and they'll know how to deliver value to other people and get picked up by somebody who's an influencer who really wants to share their incredible talent with the world. So I promise you, virality is still gonna happen every fucking day. And I mean it at the channel level. I'm not just talking like a single one-off video. So understanding that where I thought you were gonna go is to say, should I spend all my time and energy building my talents in the area that I really care most deeply and passionately about versus trying to build a following? And I would say focus all of your time and energy on the talents that you want to be really great in, that you want to be world-class in. Once you start thinking about where am I ahead of the curve and all that, and it's not an area specifically focused on like your deepest passion. So if your passion is, which you alluded to, is VR, don't worry about whether it's ahead of the curve or not. Worry about the fact that you love it and you want to help bring that medium to the world. And oh, by the way, it's a great added bonus that you happen to be ahead of the curve, but I would not in any way, shape, or form let that be my driving factor. If I did that, we wouldn't have launched this channel. There were plenty of people doing stuff in this space. I mean, Jesus, the mindset space is about as crowded as it's going to get. The protein bar space was about as crowded as it was going to get. But you can absolutely shine in that. And I think that we've come from behind and built. I mean, we're already like approaching 300,000 if we haven't already crossed that mark ecosystem wide. And we did that in like 9 months. So this is, in fact, less than 9 months.
Yeah.
So this is something that is very, very possible to do if you focus on putting out high quality content. So follow that thing that you want to be the best in the world at. Chase that.
Perfect. So this next one comes from Micky Jackson. What is your schedule to work? How did you create it? Do you do different days for different things or a little of something each day?
So it is all about having an important things list, and this really comes down to specificity of goal. Once you know exactly what your goal is, and I'll give you an example of a terrible goal. I want to build a studio. Okay, that's a terrible goal. That's so non-specific, like that's so big and so far away. Like what are those steps that you back into that? I'm not saying that's not ultimately where you're gonna get, but what are you gonna be doing today and finding a way to create the concrete steps that are gonna bridge between you and building a studio. Before I would be comfortable calling us a studio, I'm gonna guess it's gonna take about 3 years. So you've got to know, like, what do you, like, that's 3 years of going all out every day, trying to make as many partnerships as I can, trying to do as many crazy events like this as we can, going out, meeting people face to face, traveling, building out contracts, getting people to submit, painting a vision, networking. I mean, there's so many things you can be doing. And so you've got to be really religious about keeping a important things list, which are the daily tasks that are completable. They're not like esoteric. It's not thinking about things. It's actually doing things in order to take the steps towards that goal. Now, that's a whole fucking thing. And at some point, I should figure out how to explain to people how I do that, because I think that would be very, very valuable. And right now, I'm just telling them to do that. So that's something we should write down, Amanda. But that really is what you have to do. You have to get very good at identifying what those steps are and execute on a day-to-day basis.
Perfect. So this next one comes from Michelle Penny. What's your advice for when you find yourself in a situation where you're isolated from those who can inspire and drive you forward? Should you look to create it for yourself via audiobooks, podcasts, videos, etc., or is it all actually an excuse and you shouldn't need others to kick you into action?
I mean, look, anytime that you can find this entirely within yourself, that's amazing, but I would never be tense to go out and leverage the content that somebody is creating to spark something in you and to take action. But the problem is where people get lost in the, oh man, I'm so hyped, I love this video, it was amazing, and that feels so good that then they take all the time that they had to execute against something, they got inspired, and then they went to work at their 9 to 5, right? And so every morning they feel that drudgery, the dread, I don't want to go in, so I'm going to watch these inspiring videos that make me feel like I can do anything, and then I leave for work. So you really have to be disciplined. And so if you say, let's say you've got an hour, and that's all the time you've got, and you're really just not feeling it, set an alarm for 10 minutes, go get inspired, and then for the remaining 50 minutes, execute the shit out of it now that you've caught that wave. But the reality is what you need is that roadmap. So once you've created the roadmap of hyper-specific, executable action items, which are actually going to move you towards your goal, then you should be spending all of your time just chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, and only allowing yourself to really feel good when you execute on something, when you finish something, when you take a task all the way to completion where it's like, okay, that brick is now laid in this foundation and I can lay that next brick. And when you begin to chemically reward yourself by, praising yourself internally, then it really gets special, because instead of always turning to the motivational stuff or the educational stuff, you do a little bit of that and a whole ton of the executing, and the ton of executing feels good. Like, I will tell you, I actually start getting anxious if I go too long without looking at my important things list. I get anxious if I go too long without actually moving those things forward, because I know those are the only things that move the company forward as a whole. So execute, execute, execute.
Super succinct. All right, so this next question comes from Travis Porter de Leon. Do you ever take into account how the realities of climate change, mass extinction, and other major social issues play into your mission?
That's super deep. I would say that it's at the absolute farthest outer reaches of my awareness. There will come a time where that will make sense, when we're having to actually make decisions about how we're going to set things up, how we're going to structure it, what our carbon footprint is going to be, what the impact is that we're going to have on that. But right now, we're not putting out that kind of physical stuff. So yeah, I'd be lying if I said that was a priority for us right now.
All right, that makes sense. All right, so this next one comes from Gabriel Delibrali. Tom, you said that you meet yourself when you suffer, and it's great to make calculated pockets of suffering that will help you move towards your goals. Thus, you created this Impactathon to suffer and give back to the community. So what are your takeaways from this 24 hours? What did you learn about yourself, and what did you learn about the team and the community?
Well, let's start with what I learned about the team. And in all fairness, the team is my priority. And I hope that makes you guys feel good. I hope that really resonates with you guys. I think that it will. I learned something amazing about the team. I did not ask a single person to join me in this crazy endeavor, certainly not for 24 hours. I figured we'd kind of schedule things out and it'd be one person sort of through the whole thing. And the way that everybody ran with it, that so many people stayed late, so many people that couldn't stay through the entire night came ass early. I mean, it was just unbelievable, and just felt a really insanely wonderful response. This team, I'm realizing, not tonight, in fairness, this is an echo of a realization that I had before, that I'm going through one of the most beautiful periods of my life right now. And this is just incredible, and I'm having so much fun. So that's the team. They are unbelievable. This is a result of them. So they did everything and simply told me where to sit and what to read off the screen. So the team literally killed themselves to make this incredibly special, beyond what I ever would have imagined. So I won't say that I realize this about the team, because I already believed this, but seeing it in action is always thrilling. They're unbelievable. I've never seen a team of people like this before, ever in my life. And I've been a part of some incredible teams. But this is very, very special. The community, you guys were so much more engaged than I ever could have hoped for. We set a high watermark for the number of people all at once during a live, which was incredibly rewarding. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Just absolutely mind-blowing. And what did I learn about myself? Meet myself in suffering. I actually didn't end up suffering, which is kind of fascinating. I expected this to be way more tiring. I thought, God, that I would be like sort of making it like across the finish. So I learned that this engagement with you guys, with the team, gives me so much energy that I've never experienced anything like it before. So yeah, that's just being real. All right, our giveaway winner is Joe Cross. Joe Cross, congratulations. All right, woo! Joe is very active in the community. Thank you, Joe.
Super active.
Super glad that you won. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Awesome question, Gabriel. Next question comes from KG Barry. What's the best way to change the story you tell yourself? How did you craft that story? And what do you specifically do to keep telling it to yourself every day?
So the best way to change the story that you tell yourself is really just to make immediate modifications in the form of, imagine you're writing a story and you say words exactly like, I am the type of person that gets out of bed in 10 minutes or less. I am the type of person that is willing to suffer for his health. I'm the type of person that would always put the team the team's needs before my needs. Like you say things like that, and then you have to act in accordance with that to not feel like a fraud. Now that's a major motivator for me. If you don't mind sitting in feeling like a fraud, then my techniques just aren't going to work for you. Because once I say, like, I'm very careful about what I say. Okay? There are many cool things. Like, I would love to say, I'm the type of person that does whatever it takes to get yoked and to just have a crazy physique. But the fact is, I don't care enough about it, so I know I'm not going to stay true to that. So I don't make myself that promise. So I am willing to suffer for longevity. I'm willing to suffer for my health. So there's so many things I want to eat that I don't eat. And I always stick to that. And so I feel a deep sense of truth when I say that to myself or I say that to somebody else. But my physique is an exact reflection of how much I care, which is like, my physique's all right. But it isn't like a fitness model. So just keeping it real. So you have to be very careful with that. How do you remind yourself to say it every day? There should be benefits that come from it. So you should have a compelling future that you're trying to reach, that this new thing that you've done to your identity is so important to reaching that compelling future, meaning you're actually very excited about it. You want to get to it. Nobody has to remind you. So if you're like, you're slogging and you have to like push yourself and convince yourself, like you don't have a compelling future. So first focus on that, get something that you're really, really excited to get to, and then back into what the things are that you're gonna have to change in your belief system to get there. So once you have that, it becomes a lot easier to remind yourself to say it over and over because it's creating this momentum in your life that's moving you towards the thing that you want.
Dope. All right, so this next question comes from Matthew Greenheck. I really enjoyed the info bar at the bottom of the screen when we had our Insight Quest videos. Any chance you could bring them back? It was really a great value add.
We've talked about it, but never gotten very serious about it because it was oddly enough a fair amount of work.
It was a lot
and
of work.
So we've instead decided to put that energy into creating additional content. And since we're about to literally destroy ourselves with an entire new show and expanding what?
Our show notes, because when at Insight Quest, I don't think we had like really expansive show notes. They were just like, here's the description.
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. So we all agree and recognize that it's bad, but everything's a trade-off, right? So, or I shouldn't say bad. It's worse than it could be, but we believe that we're getting significantly more value out of the things that we do choose to put that energy into. So, hopefully you agree.
Yeah. All right. So I'm like forgetting words right now. So our next question comes from Stacy Smith. This one is kind of funny. There are people who would choose vegetables over cake. I told you I'd ask
remember,
it.
yeah, but she's yes, because they know some part of them believes that they're supposed to. Depending on what your goals are, I would say it's probably a decent strategy. I would choose vegetables over cake. And the irony is, though, because I use a bright line strategy, that decision doesn't have any cognitive load for me. So I would never choose cake. So there are other ways to offload that cognitive burden.
Well, there we go. That one came from like the middle of the night.
That's pretty funny.
During sleep deprivation. So our next question comes from Naomi Hernandez. Much love from El Salvador. What an amazing team you've built, Tom. Thank you. Tom, you often say that you reward yourself when you do something that makes you proud. What types of rewards are these, and how did you decide on them?
So they're all like verbal praise. So, and it's all internal. I'm not actually saying it out loud. But just when you act in a manner that is consistent with your identity, when you act in a manner that's consistent with what you told yourself that you were going to do, and you show up and you do it, when you encounter something that's hard and you have every desire to quit, except for you have a stronger desire to reach your goal and you push through and you do it. So all of those times I'm literally saying to myself, to be honest, it's not really quite words. It's like, it's just that sense of, yeah, I fucking did it. Like I said I was going to do it. I did it. I showed up. I crushed it. I feel good about that. It's not always fully formed words like that, but that's sort of the sentiment that's running through my head. I may allow myself to tell Lisa that I did something that I'm really proud of, and that I know she'll reflect that back at me, and congratulate me. And she's very good. Like if she knows that something's really meaningful to me, she'll like bring it up a couple times later. Like, hey, I'm really proud that you did that. It's so cool. Or she may even do something cool like this. Like, I really want to like cook all your food today. I don't want you to get anything just because I think it's so amazing that you did like XYZ. So that kind of stuff is super dope, and I'm beyond grateful to have that in my life.
Yeah. So, I mean, yesterday morning, Lisa cracked my eggs, which was really sweet.
That's pretty legit, I
Yeah.
gotta say.
Yeah.
That's pretty legit.
All right, so our next question comes from Terica Iglesias. Good morning. Tom, what would you say in a letter to your younger self?
That's very easy. There is this thing called a fixed mindset. You have it in spades. You believe that your talent and intelligence are fixed traits and that they can't be adjusted. And so you're about to go on a really wasteful path of putting yourself in smaller and smaller types of places where you feel like the smartest person. When in reality, there's this other thing called a growth mindset, and it's actually true, and it is that your talent and intelligence are malleable traits, and that through disciplined practice that you can really develop anything. And look at one simple fact. We're all born a lump of jello that can hardly hold its own head up, and yet we learn to walk, we learn to speak a language, we learn to do all this incredible stuff. And at some point, we stop believing that we can do anything we set our minds to. And if you don't do that, then you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. And I would obviously be more compelling than that. And I would give some amazing examples that I would stop and really think about. But that is the only thing that I would need to communicate to my younger self, the growth mindset.
That's super valid. All right, so our next question comes from Simland.
Simland has been
He's
hella
been
active.
like super in the feed. All right, so what's your favorite moment from The Matrix?
My favorite moment from The Matrix is, God, there's two. I'll have to go because every time it gives me the chills when he, spoiler alert, when he rises back up, puts his hand out and says no, and all the bullets stop. Mm-hmm. That every time. That's like one of those things. It gives me the chills. Like I kind of want to cry, and I'm like, why do I want to cry? It's one of those moments every time.
Yeah, that feels very consistent because we had a similar question, and I feel like that was your answer to it as well.
But I also love the meeting with the Oracle.
Yes, and that was
God.
the second moment
Love
that
that.
you chose. All right, so this next one comes from Corey G. Rhoda. Will we get more panel sit-downs similar to one we did with Modius Health? And will we be releasing that segment as a podcast episode?
Well, that's interesting. I actually never even thought about that.
I didn't either.
I'm super
Which
down
makes me
to
feel-
release it as a podcast. I would
we
love
record
to
it?
do more things, especially as we get more involved in health. I think those could be really, really useful for people.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as we get deeper into nerd culture, getting a bunch of people on to talk about, to take pop culture seriously is the easiest way to sort of round it off. But yeah, I think we could do some really cool panels. Here's the problem with panels. They're so hard to schedule.
Yeah.
They're so hard to schedule. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So thankfully somebody else scheduled that one for us.
Right, and I love it because you never think about how hard it is to schedule. And, like, you think, oh, we'll just put together a panel, like, super easy. No,
No,
it's never like that.
very much not.
All right, so this next one comes from Cage Hits, who's definitely been in the feed, I think, since
Dude,
9 a.m.
Cage has been rocking
So
it.
he's, like, been
If it's
with us
been
since the
nonstop,
beginning.
that's pretty impressive.
All right, Tom, because this is a live question. Tom, if you were a young guy with few responsibilities that was debating whether or not to drive across the country for a live 2-day event for the sheer ability to surround yourself with growth-minded individuals and hopefully form deep bonds, would you go?
Before I answer that, if this feed is bringing value to you,
Yes.
please share it. That would be amazing. This is our final hour, our home stretch. We want to get as many people engaged with this as humanly possible. That would be awesome. So please go right now, hit that share button, and get this bad boy out there. Also, I'd love to know your feedback. If you notice, I'm answering these questions very differently now. I'm trying a very succinct, very direct approach. Every time I do this as an AMA style, they just crush. So our hope is that it's just a preferred method for you guys. So new rule for grand prize. These guys are cheeky.
I know.
You must
Like,
also share
last-
this video.
the nth
So
hour.
I love it. I love your guys' style. Way to slip that one in there.
Slide it in there at the
Full
end when
respect.
everyone's like tired and like, yeah, sure.
Right?
Whatever. Sounds like a great idea.
So how far is he driving across country?
Yeah, across the country. I don't know what country.
Here,
I assume this
that's
country.
actually, yeah, if it's the U.S., that's one thing.
Yeah.
So I will say
Let's pretend
there's
it's this one.
Okay, if it's this one, look, there are enough things that are going to be going on probably much closer to you that sort of no matter where you are, there's either going to be one in Texas, there's going to be one in Chicago, there's going to be one in New York, there's going to be one in LA. There's going to be a lot going on. So I would say it's very important to begin networking. It's very important to get around like-minded people. It's very important to join groups like the Impact Theory League, which you can do on Facebook, stuff like that, where you're really going to meet like-minded people that I think are going to be very beneficial, whether you're looking for somebody to partner up with you in a future business or just finding people that are going to be encouraging. There's probably no reason to drive across country. So I think that going to them is great. I just think they happen a lot. They happen all the time, and they don't necessarily need to be massive ones. So you can start at something local that maybe isn't gigantic, but is a little more accessible. I think in this case, getting to that balance between quantity and quality. So you going to 5 or 6 local events that are of good quality is probably better than going to one national event where you have to drive across country and it's like a 3-day or 4-day commitment. There's just only so many people you can meet in a day. So
Yeah.
that's my answer.
I feel like I would push back just because it's interesting that you would say that you would drive across the country, because that in and of itself is a particular experience. Because I feel like flying in, it's like super easy. Like if you do want to go on some type of experiential adventure like that, because you could be meeting people all along the way, you never know.
You and
or
I
if
are
you're
very
trying
different.
to, yes,
I would
like
meet no one.
Exactly. I would end up meeting a bunch of people. Actually, well, no, this is just going to derail, and I know we have a ton of questions to get through. So another Q&A, we'll like go over this story about this like mysterious dude that me and my friend met who was from St. Petersburg, but like we were in Panama City Beach, and like we had this like whole almost like soul bond, and then like disappeared, never spoke to him because I broke my phone and I had lost his number. And that was before I had like an iPhone and could back it up.
It's a serendipity.
Or actually, yeah.
We'll have to see. All right.
So if you're out there,
Our
your name's
Impactivist
Peter.
Spotlight?
Yeah.
We're doing that now?
So yeah, we're gonna read one.
All right, let's do it.
quickly. This one is Matt Kohn.
Our boy.
Yeah. So Tom showed me by example that the most sustainable and impactful business model is one that genuinely seeks to solve meaningful problems at scale. As he said before, Quest was never seeking to deliver a delicious nutrition bar. It was a delicious bar designed to prevent disease, empowering people to improve their relationship with food, and in turn, their quality of life. How can you be spearheading that mission and not be radically driven to the world, driven to that world-changing cause? Since this advice, I've launched multiple brands and products that have achieved success I never could have expected, helping me make the transition from a struggling broke freelancer to a thriving business owner. Tom is the GOAT.
Wow.
And
That's
Matt,
amazing, man.
everyone.
Well, congratulations, dude. You've done all that work. So sending out a vibe of inspiration hardly qualifies. When you put in the work, when you do those things, when you take that risk, like that's all your ownership, man. But I'm very honored, trust me, very honored that you would send that in and say kind things. So thank you very much, man. Keep doing the damn thing. Keep inspiring other people.
Yes.
It's incredible. Love that.
Yes. Okay. And so with that, I feel like we should go to a video question.
All right, let's do it.
From Joe Cross.
Joe.
We
Lies.
don't?
No Joe Cross
Okay,
for us.
never mind. So this next question comes from Shaun Watson. What's your favorite guilty pleasure?
So I want to answer that honestly. I don't really have guilty pleasures because all the things that I do, I've found a way, like, so even video games, right? It's now bonding time with my wife. So that before Lisa started playing, that would have been my answer because it was definitely selfish time, something I did by myself, other than saying that, like, there are definitely times where it is legitimate practice of calming your nervous system. Mm-hmm. But that edged up on cheeky. But now that we play together, it really is like bonding time and video game time. So that's the only thing. Yeah. So full disclosure, there are times these days, it doesn't happen very often, if my wife is eating dinner upstairs. I might go up for 15 or 20 minutes. And if she has the Kardashians on, I'll actually be like, wait, I thought that they broke up. Like, what's happening? So yeah, I'd be lying. That's happened, but it's not something I spend a lot of time on.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, so this next one comes from Philippa Maia. Philippa? All right. I've been blogging mainly about my journey, positive attitude, and growth mindset. I want to grow my personal brand and platform because I want to want to impact people's lives. However, I'm terrified of exposing myself. I haven't even put my photo on my blog yet. How do I get over this fear?
Honestly, the only way that you're going to get over that fear is if you believe that your content is really helping somebody. And if you believe there is somebody whose life will be fundamentally altered forever and for the better because of the content that I'm putting out, you'll take the risk. If your content isn't quite there yet, and you know you have a lot to learn, and that putting it out now exposes you, makes you uncomfortable, and you're not sure that it's helping anybody, that's where it's like, it's probably better to just double down, get good, focus on that, don't worry about exposing yourself, and really focus on that. But at the end of the day, it really, like, once you're doing something in service of other people, you'll find that that's pretty easy. It ends up being like a small price to pay to help somebody. And that's what I return to when things get hard. I return to like people like Matt Kohn writing in and saying, hey, look, this actually really had an impact. Or God, the ones that really get me, I've been struggling with depression and you're helping me climb out. Like those are like, whoa. Because that's just incredibly meaningful. So things like that, they'll give you the courage that you need to get out and do that. And if you don't have it, look, you don't need to create content. You don't need to be documenting everything you do. So if it makes you uncomfortable, like find the thing that really lights you on fire. Maybe writing is your jam and you can use a pen name and you don't have to be exposed like that. Nothing wrong with that. And the content could still really add a lot of value to people, even if it's just entertainment. So keep that in mind. Find that thing that resonates with you.
Great advice. All right, so this next one comes from Michael Anthony. How did you assemble the Avengers, Defenders, Guardians level team at Impact Theory?
Yeah, so that is pretty cool. This has been a slow burn. So it started at Quest. So the first real Avenger, obviously outside of my wife, was you. And you
I think
were...
Courtney was before me.
Oh, that's right. You were the first one that we sucked over. But you're right. So we had... Was it Courtney first? And did you find her, baby? So I can't even take credit for Courtney. That's right.
Yeah.
So my old assistant, June, knew Courtney, brought her in, and then I think she and Lisa really clicked. So I'll give Lisa full credit for that one. And Courtney is a beast. And I'm very sad that she does not like to be in a lot of the content, so you guys don't get to see. She's absolutely incredible. And then
life.
You came before Casey, right? Okay, so we stole you from Quest. That was originally your jam, and you were like, hey, I really vibe on this. You came over, and you were like... You survived the gauntlet. So like you legit, like I didn't have time to like really, like if I'm a bad manager now, I was really bad then. So everything was just like
hands
totally,
off was like level, like a million. And
it was just like hyper direct, fucking get this done. Like, come on, we got to grind. And you just never backed off. Got it. Boom, 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 boom. I know it wasn't easy for you, but like you never made that my burden, right? You went out, you fucking crushed it, and you came back, what's next? So that was incredible. Then I'm just going to fuck up the whole timeline. Like forgive me for that. But yeah, Christopher,
Casey,
again.
Jared was Jared, I think, was the last after.
Jared was definitely the last while we were there. I wasn't involved in hiring Christopher. So he came from Courtney, right? So it really is like that word of mouth, like they snack. Yeah, 100%. So it's... The only thing that I will take credit for is not being dumb and making sure that like everybody stayed together. And then now, since we've gotten here, it has truly been a group effort. And I think the only thing that I'll take credit for is around myself, I put out a vibe. That's it. And people either resonated with that vibe and stayed or they didn't. So that's it. But this is such a team effort. And I can't tell you how often I feel cheeky that because I'm the one that the camera's pointed at, that I get more credit than I deserve. That's the truth. And this is a team fucking effort. Everything that we do. That's why I hope I've said it enough. Like this 24-hour thing is the team. And I showed up and read what was on the TV. And yeah, it's just incredible. It's incredible. So hire good people, find good people, make sure that they feel good about being here. They will bring in other good people. It's incredible. It's the vibe, man. You got to create the vibe. And every one of the people here has made this a unique fingerprint of the people that are here. And the company would be fundamentally different and worse if any one of the people were swapped out.
Right.
It's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel super grateful for this team. Like, it's super incredible because I haven't, like, really worked in a lot of, well, I guess, like, I've had some, like, corporate experience, but, like, definitely more non-traditional paths is kind of what I've been doing. And so it's been really cool to see something that I feel like I would find in more non-traditional roles reflected in a company. Like,
Right.
we are a company, you know? So that's been cool.
Nice.
So this next question comes from Micky Jackson, who's definitely been all over the feed.
Killing the feed.
All right. So what's the one What's the one piece of advice you have for someone that's starting out very grassroots? I have no budget and I'm doing it alone, but I'm going to make it happen. What would you tell me about what to do first?
Make sure that your content is actually valuable. So that's one of those things that, like, hey, it's okay. Like, it takes time. And I have no idea where he's at or she's at in their journey, right? So it's that's hard to say. So I just know universally you need to make sure that your content is actually adding value. Once your content is actually adding value, then what you want to do is start going out there. You don't even want to wait for that. In conjunction, you want to be reaching out to people, adding value to their community, and then pointing them back to what you're doing once you really believe that your content is adding value. And if you've been a meaningful contributor to their community and you say, hey, would you like come check out my page, take a look at what I'm doing? If you've spent the last 6 months adding value to their community, they're going to do it. So yeah, do that. Make sure your content adds value and make sure you're adding value to other people. That's critical. And if your content isn't yet adding value, put all of your time and energy. And in fact, one of the people that I hope you guys were paying attention to was Luis Garcia, who talked about how to get a mentor, who talked about how to get the attention of other influencers by really going way above and beyond. And by the way, if this feed is adding value, please share this video. We are in our final hour, so hit that share button, get it out there, get as many people involved in this as we can. All right.
Yes. And I also want to point out that, like, sometimes having no budget makes you think super creatively. Because that was also a really big thing, because at the time, because Inside Quest was, like, part of Quest Nutrition and we didn't really make money, it was like a lesser project. So my budget was usually zero to, oh, like, I know you had a budget, but, like, just kidding, that's not actually your budget. So you just have to think super creatively and, you know, push your project forward, especially if you believe in it. And so that's my 2 cents on that.
Word.
All right,
so we're down to our final 20 minutes.
Yeah, the final 20 minutes, but like 20-something questions? I don't know.
All right.
Can't count. So, Christophe Logisti, at one point in the future, do you plan to make stuff for other languages? Comics in French, etc.?
Well, we met somebody at our LA meetup here who wants to translate our stuff into Portuguese for the Brazilian market. So right now, we aren't prioritizing that from a budget perspective, but when we encounter people like that, we're very encouraging. Would love to see that. So if you have translation abilities, let us know. We're very open. So yeah,
and there's like a place for you to also contribute those on YouTube too, which we totally would appreciate.
Nice.
It's just, again, not in our budget or bandwidth right now. Okay, so this one comes from Kit Ho. Tom, have a great time in London. What's something that you always have to pack when you travel?
Underwear, socks, toothbrush, toothpaste.
So regular stuff?
Yeah, like from
Make
that
sure you
perspective,
don't forget stuff.
shoes, I guess, is the one like pain in the ass that even I'm like, Jesus, I really had to make shoes a thing. When I travel, that's annoying. Other than that, like, I'm gonna try and get away with a carry-on this time to London because I'm only there for like 4 days. So hopefully I can.
That's so impressive.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the meetup, it'd definitely be super easy. So that's the
Yeah.
only thing that might throw a monkey wrench. But
Yeah. Notorious overpacker over here. Okay, so this next one comes from Zachary Collette. Tom, I've been a passive follower, always grateful for your content, but now a true fan, so much respect for going 24 hours straight and crushing it. You're a beast. Can I bring you and your team lunch sometime?
wow, that's insanely thoughtful. We're always down for kindness.
Like food.
So yes. Thank you.
All right, so the next question comes from Mark Weeks. Super appreciate that. Can vulnerability be cultivated? Is it a skill that can be acquired or developed?
Vulnerability, can it be developed? Yes, absolutely. Read
with
Brene Brown's book, really incredible. Daring Greatly, work on vulnerability. And in her TED Talk, when she talks about being the man in the arena, I love that. It's not quite a quote because it's so fucking long, but the man in the arena concept that she really just embodies beautifully is amazing. So yes, definitively, you can learn to let your guard down. You can learn to be strong enough in who you are that you've got your own true north, so you can be defenseless and recognize yourself as the man in the arena, and not let the hecklers fuck you up too much. So
Yeah. All right. So Gemini Cruz. Later in life, what is one goal? What is one goal you'd feel? What is one goal that you would regret if you didn't accomplish? It's worded funny.
This is actually what came to my mind. If I failed to make Lisa feel like my number one, that's the one thing that would fucking haunt me. The most upset I've ever been in my entire life was one time when I upset her. So yeah, protecting my wife, making her feel good, that would be horrifying.
That's so awesome. All right. So this next question comes from Simland. What social media strategy has the greatest impact on the growth of Impact Theory as a brand?
High value content. So that really is it. So high value content to get more useful for you. High value content that we break into clips and we get big accounts to share. And I think honestly, the thing that's impacted our Facebook the most are we put out our content and people steal it. And as long as they tag us, it's insanely beneficial for us. And then also by stealing our content, which by the way, when you tag us, we don't mind at all.
Yep, proper
so
credit, that's
if you
all.
want to take it, just make sure that you link back to us. We're super stoked on that. Spread that word, that message. And then a lot of times we'll reach out and we'll build official relationships with people if we get results, obviously. So that's been a huge win for us. We really are the house of virality. So people talk about, oh, you can't engineer virality. Yes, you fucking can.
Yeah,
We've gone viral like 7 or 8 times. So we go viral, I think more than once a month. Which is fucking crazy. And we're defining viral as over 1 million. So we now have, think about this for a second. We now have this little, influencer that nobody's fucking heard of. Our shows had over 250 million views. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy town. So, yeah, you absolutely can bring on amazing guests, set them up, give them space to say their cool shit, which they will do all day because they've written books about it. Give them the space to say the cool shit and then cut that into clips and then hope people steal it as long as they credit you. And if they won't steal it, go and build partnerships with them.
All right. God, we have so many questions coming in too. All right.
So originally it was going to be capped at 6 a.m. I just want the record to reflect.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's a sieve and it just leaks forever, which I'm happy if that's the case. I'll happily make sure we answer every question that came in before 6 a.m. because that was my promise.
Okay.
And
we'll
then
switch to those questions.
I'll keep answering until 10, but at 10 I do have a podcast.
When we hit the 24-hour mark, we're going to do a celebration and you can keep going.
Okay.
Keep hitting that 24
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Love it. All right. So
let's keep chugging.
We'll chug along.
But making sure that we stay true to what I said.
Yes, I agree with that too. That's why I'm talking so fast and trying to get these out. So this one comes from Chrissy Ratliff. Love all the content, Tom. Thank you for serving the community with this Impactathon. adding so much value. My question is,
Thank you.
how do you be a linchpin employee while also having great work relationships with your team? I work in a pretty competitive environment where we all tend to want to outperform one another, but not in a fun, friendly way. I want to foster good relationships, but as soon as I step ahead, it seems that I start getting the cold shoulder.
So I'm not in that environment, so I can't say for sure. But I will say this. If you start performing like a beast and you turn to people and say, what can I do to help you? And, or don't even ask, just in a meeting, like when you've got a sincere compliment to pay them, or you've got an opportunity to help them shine. If you take that opportunity, I'm telling you that is a winning strategy in the long run for sure. Make sure it is sincere. Make sure you're never bullshitting people. Make sure that it's not fake flattery, but really find sincere ways to build a reputation as the one who's like the encourager, the one that's inspiring other people, the one that's like really encouraging them. Like, when you get a negative environment, that shit is infectious, but so is a positive environment. And if you can find a small cadre of people and you can really like build some earned trust over time, because if it's a competitive relationship, but not in a good way, it's going to take time to really get some people to realize like, whoa, like she actually wants to help. And she wants to take these time to help other people shine. And you may not be able to dedicate time to helping them shine. But when you notice that somebody's done something awesome and you're supportive, you're the anti-cold shoulder, over time, I really believe people are going to begin to thaw. If you're doing that well, like you're legitimately finding real connection and all that, and you're helping them shine, and you're crushing and doing your work, and people are still icy, leave. Now, that presumes that you're doing it well, and oftentimes people are not. But if truly and honestly you're executing against that strategy well, and it's still this dog-eat-dog, non-supportive environment, I would find somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree with that. So this next question comes from Feroso Marinu. Hey guys, I know this is a simplistic question, but how do you get to the point where you believe in yourself and your dreams that you can make it? Is it just a case of daily step by step and it comes by itself?
You've got to earn credibility with yourself. And this is something that I think people really miss out on. So why do I work out in the gym every day, even though I hate it? So other than for health reasons, knowing that I don't like it and I still show up every day really, really earns credibility with myself. Doing a 24-hour live, not balking, not hesitating, like really just getting in, doing it, being enthusiastic, that kind of stuff. Everyone here tonight over the last 24 hours has earned credibility with themselves. I'm sure huge credibility. Everybody showed up, everybody played, everybody crushed it, everybody had a great fucking attitude. It's been so much fun. I really can't believe that we're like down to the final 10 minutes. Is absolutely crazy. So it's things like that where you're gonna begin building credibility with yourself. Tell yourself you're gonna do something and then actually do it. Be very careful about what you say you're gonna do, because once you say it, you need to actually do it. Otherwise, you're going to erode your credibility with yourself. And also, this stuff comes from getting good, right? When you get good at something and you know you've got the confidence because you know you can perform, that you're going to show up, you're going to deliver because you have the skill set, that's where you're really going to begin to feel good about yourself. And look at yourself like in 10-year horizons. So don't look back from, today to a year ago. Look back from today to 10 years ago. How far have you come, right? And then just think about, okay, if I keep this up, I keep executing, I keep acquiring skills little by little by little, what's it going to look like 10 years from now? And so next year, don't look back 1 year and say, oh, I can't believe I've only come. Look back again 10 years. So it's like that sliding scale where you're like, wow, I've really accomplished a lot. And then, look, I then shorten that till I'm looking at my last 3 hours. But you really need to know like what duration you need to look at to keep yourself pushing forward to really get perspective on what you've accomplished. If you don't do that, it just becomes this corrosive attitude of self-reinforcing negativity. So you have to be very, very careful with that.
Yeah. All right, so this next one comes from Kathleen Woodbridge. How much time do you take for introspection alone, and how often?
So I try to do this Monday through Friday, a meditative practice. I do it for about 20 minutes of true, just breathe meditation. And then I do another 20 to 40 minutes, depending on if I'm really vibing, of thinkitating. So you put that together and on a long day, it's like an hour's worth of real introspection. Some days it's as short as, 20, 30 minutes, but.
Do you feel that's included with your meditation?
Yeah, so that's meditating and thinkitating.
Cool. So this next one comes from Christy Ratliff. Tom, I would love to hear about how you overcome the feeling of being overwhelmed.
Overwhelm is the one that impacts me the least. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I literally stop. So overwhelm to me can be addressed through physicality. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I slow down. As everyone else is speeding up, as the stress is like piling, as it's like I'm realizing I have more and more things to do, you can feel everything ratcheting up, including that pressure. And literally, you're gonna do like literally the kinds of things I'm doing with my body now.
Yeah.
And so when I feel it, I just
Expand.
that deep belly diaphragm breath, I let it out, and then I literally just tell myself like one thing at a time. It's all gonna be fine. And that I find overwhelm will go away like that. So I think for somebody that isn't meditating, it probably stacks because what you're actually dealing with is the background radiation. And then somebody hits you with something that's like stressful
Just
and is
tips
adding
you
more.
over.
And yeah, you just like can't fucking handle it because you've never taken your background radiation, which I'll identify as stress, depression, anxiety. You've never taken those three to zero. And I believe when you do a just breathe technique well, not right, just well, like you're doing it, you're lowering your heart rate, you're lowering your rate of breathing, like you're lowering that background radiation. If you learn how to do that and you just keep going, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, how long do you need to do it? Just keep back to your breath, back to your breath, back to your breath until you hit zero. I have been in some insanely fucking stressful situations, insanely anxiety producing, where millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars are on the line. And I've never once failed to get back to zero. So when it's really fucking stressful, it takes a lot longer. Like on a normal day, let's say it takes me 5 minutes to get in the zone. Mm-hmm. Okay, on a super stressful day, it might take me 45 minutes. Okay, but you just little by little,
Bring it down.
just breathe, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe, and you stay there until you get to zero. And if you've got that discipline, like now you're at a reset, right? And on really brutal stuff, it might pop back up relatively quickly, but if you can practice like getting it back down to zero, you're way ahead of the game.
Love it. So this next one comes from Tom W. Brown. When is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson making an appearance on Impact Theory?
Dude, trust
Someone
me.
hook us up.
Trust me when I say that I think everybody wants to get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So this is like a Christopher special where we definitely want to go through him and not. He's not a big fan when we go rogue on guests. But yeah, we'd all love to have him on. And right now, the truth is we're too small. So he's got no reason to come on this podcast. There are plenty of people doing amazing shit that have a lot bigger followings, which is why we've got to keep building this following so we can get people that have that kind of reach. And but yeah, it won't be long. That I promise.
All right. So this next one comes from Yannick Ether. Tom, are you coming to Vancouver or Seattle sometime this fall?
I don't have any plans right now to be in Vancouver or Seattle. I'll go anywhere in the world where there is a compelling business reason to go. So that's almost always going to be my answer. Every now and then there really is somewhere that I'm already planning to be. But for the most part, the answer is when we have a compelling business reason. So either somebody's invited me to speak, there's an Impactivits league there that has a massive following. So things like that. But I'll be doing a lot more traveling in the coming months.
Yeah, for sure. I'll go to this question because I feel like it's a great question to kind of towards the end
Hit
on.
that 24-hour mark?
Yeah, so this one comes from Sangeetha B. Raj. Tom, how are you thinking so clearly after 24 hours straight?
You can do anything you set your mind to. I'm telling you it's real. Yeah, that's it. Discipline, focus, practice, suffering, push. And then all of a sudden, you get better and better and better.
Yeah, I also feel like a lot of us have hit that 24-hour mark, and we're still
rocking it. Everybody is. Everybody's sharp.
Like, super surprised, and I feel like we're getting... Jason's like, no, not me. Nope. It's like, you were close. I feel like something's happening behind the scenes. Like, should we...
I see that. There's movement here.
Yeah, we ready?
All right, we at that mark?
All right, cool. Because I was like, I want to end...
So announce we're by now because that's
It's
been up
4 minutes.
so we're about 4
minutes.
minutes until the 24-hour mark, which is very, very exciting. Cameras
It's
are being
super
pulled
exciting.
back. We're getting ready, I think, to bring everybody on.
been over 24
which
hours
is amazing.
for a lot of us.
Amazing. Yo, for Schways. From the time that we started preparing, yeah, for Schways.
Yeah. I'm excited.
So,
This is
come
fun.
on, everybody. Come on, come
Join
on.
us.
Let's do it.
Yes, and
Let's
as
do
a
it.
reminder, everyone, so we didn't get to a lot of questions, but we will be reconnecting to do
Yep.
the rest of them super quickly so that we honor our word.
Yep, 100%. So we will make sure every question that was answered by that was submitted by 6 a.m. Will get answered. That was my promise.
Yes, so we'll
and
go through
I'll get
those
through as
ones
many as I
first.
can before 10 of the other ones.
Yes, so I have those ones in a separate list for
Perfect.
you ready.
Awesome.
So everything that came in before 6 a.m. you'll have, and then
Nice.
we'll hit some of the other ones if we have
Boom.
time.
Boom.
I love this. Someone take a picture. Oh, Mason.
You guys don't have to crouch.
You should.
I was like, because usually whenever anyone's like back there, it like stops here. Nobody can tell.
Your time on your. You got your time on.
What?
Can you pull up Facebook because the timer's on there?
Oh. It's like,
2 minutes. Oh, we're at 2 minutes. So what should we?
Well, I want to take this time, if we've got 2 minutes, to let you guys know that one team, I am insanely proud of you guys and what you put together. This is absolutely phenomenal, and I give you guys 100% of the credit. This has been amazing and so much fun. And then to everybody out in the community, when I say that we are grateful for you, I really mean that. What you guys are helping us build is absolutely astonishing. There are so many individual, amazing people out there that have shared your story with us and with each other. It's just unbelievable. And thank you guys for being so supportive of each other, which is something that is just incredibly, incredibly meaningful for us. Thank you for engaging in this feed. It has been unbelievable. I think it certainly surpassed my wildest expectations, and I think these guys have as well.
Yeah.
About the time there were so many of you at like 3 a.m., I was like, oh my God. So that is really, really cool. Thank you guys all for everything. This is amazing, and it's only the beginning. So,
yes.
So
Pick it
when
up.
are we going to do our next 24-hour?
I think we do it at 250. 250,000.
Someone said at least once a year in the feed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's
Someone was
crush
like
it.
48 hours. I was like,
Oh, I like
I was like, it's like fine, but like eventually it'll just be us like laughing at stupid stuff
Yeah.
like vegetables.
We're already there. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
All right.
yeah,
Where's
we've got
that? Where's that
30
countdown?
seconds.
Nice.
We've got 30 seconds. This is
It's
like
like New Year.
it is.
I know,
It's like,
right?
this is delayed, so I'm
Like
not.
the whole world's going to end.
Well, let's
We
hope
might
not.
already be there.
Well,
Someone.
we'll
I'm just
go by
gonna.
this time. We'll go by this time.
No, I'm refreshing it because mine is delayed. It's always delayed. So I'm gonna check.
You want to go based off of whatever your
I know,
phone
right?
says. So your
No,
phone is
we'll
exercise.
go off the time on the
Well,
Facebook.
it's now 9.
No,
It says
No.
no, we're still here.
No.
Oh, yeah,
What are you
reset.
talking about?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. I don't know.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And by the way, rejoin us essentially immediately. Do we need to cut the feed?
No,
Or can we
no,
keep
we're
rocking?
gonna keep
Okay,
going.
perfect.
Oh.
So thank you for celebrating with us.
Thanks.
And now back to your
All right,
questions.
so back to the questions.
And
All
let's
right.
forget the grand prize.
Oh yeah!
Oh,
Don't forget
yes.
to share this feed.
Share.
If it's
And
adding
the
value,
7.
if you've loved every moment of this and this 24-hour live. What is happening now?
Yeah.
Fill the women's pulse.
Someone help
All
me.
right, guys, if you want to be eligible to win the grand prize, you need to find the 7 Easter eggs that we hid throughout this whole bad boy and send that to connect@impacttheory.com, and also make sure that you share this feed, otherwise you don't qualify. So that's
Ooh.
it. Share the feed, find the 7 Easter eggs, send it to connect@impacttheory.com, and enter to win the $2,000 grand prize of all the cool stuff that we've been giving away
All the
throughout this whole
swag.
bad boy. All the swag
And-
ever in the universe.
One big up to you for talking for 20
Thank you.
I'm very well grateful.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
You killed it.
My pleasure. All right.
All right, well, we're just going to start rolling into
Yep, let's do
questions
it.
so you can
Let's
be
do
here
it.
if you want to. So, Katrina, this next question comes from Katrina McCoy. Hey, thank you so much for the good value-add content. I learned so much from you guys. Here's my question. One of the things that drew me into a relationship with my boyfriend of 2 years was his desire to lead and be self-employed. He has the ability to do that, be great at anything he puts his mind to. The problem is he seems unable to focus and maybe he doesn't believe in himself. How do I be a positive influence to help him live to his full potential without crossing the alpha beta lines? I find myself getting discouraged and maybe even bitter because I feel so frustrated that he says one thing but isn't putting the energy into it.
Wow, man, what a raw question. So here's the hard reality. First, it starts, you meet him with compassion and really try to engage and find out what's going on. He is going to feel threatened by that, especially if he has insecurities around this, and you're going to have to help him through that. He's really got to see and feel that you're really trying to help him identify what's going on, help you identify what's going on, and you're going to have to, in that process, don't lead with this, but in that process of really figuring out what's going on, you're going to have to own and say in a way that isn't aggressive, isn't demeaning, that it does bother you that he says one thing and he's acting a different way. And this is a minefield. There's no question. You already know that. But the only thing that's more dangerous than saying it is not saying it. So it's going to come down to your ability to convey that in a way that shows love. It's going to be a hard conversation. Like, just embrace that. It's going to be difficult. At first, it's going to trigger his insecurities, and you're going to have to be there and help him through that and not react when he pushes back and maybe escalates the situation and feels threatened and pushes on you and says, you know, that maybe you're attacking him or something like that. So you're going to have to stay like a rock through that. He's got to feel your compassion through that. You've got to decide how many times you're willing to be rebuffed, because usually people do it multiple times because they want to see, like, it triggers all those insecurities, like abandonment, that he's not good enough for you. And so he's going to need you to come back and come back and come back to convince him that that's not the case. And obviously, at some point, he's going to need to work on that and get better at that and not do that and not let his insecurities overwhelm him. But my gut instinct is, if that's where he's at, he's going to need some real compassion as you unpack that together and really work through it. It's not easy, but it's got to be done. This is one of those times where if you let it go, and I think we both know that maybe even bitter is actually really fucking bitter. And if it's not really fucking bitter today, it's going to be really fucking bitter tomorrow. So you've got to do it. Otherwise, it will terminate the relationship. There's no question about it.
Makes sense. So this next one comes from Masha Elstova, also a pretty raw question. Hey guys, what's your advice on choosing between your career and relationship? I'm dating a guy and really like him, but can't shake the feeling that this relationship is pulling me away from my dream job and life. However, I'm hesitant to let him go, and I'm torn between this relationship and my dream. Did you have any doubts when you were dating?
No. This is something that I was really aggressive about in our relationship. And so when Lisa and I talk about being aggressively yourself, and this wasn't something I said in the first date, it wouldn't have made sense, but I was really raw and real from, the jump. And as we were getting more serious, one thing that I said was, you can ask me to give up anything, but you can never ask me to give up my ambition. And to really understand what that means, because here's the thing. I know that I need to make her feel like my number one. So there are going to be times where I have to choose her over the business, and it's going to need to be one of those moments where it's a meaningful choose. And you have to get good at knowing whether it's a meaningful choose, but it's not destructive to the business, right? So understanding where that line is. And then you need to be able to articulate why it's so fundamental to who you are that you couldn't be with them if they asked you to give up your ambition, because you would cease to be yourself. You would be like when people say, I'm not going to give up my friends, giving up, for somebody who's truly ambitious, giving up that ambition is way worse. It's giving up a piece of who they are. It's giving up a piece of their identity, something that drives them. So even though Lisa is my number one, I would cease to be me if I didn't have my ambition and I wasn't able to pursue that. So, and it's a balance. Look, and Lisa and I haven't always gotten it right, and I think that she's been a lot better about that than I have, and she's course corrected with me, never taken it personally, always communicated, over communicated. We really articulate how something is making us feel, what our needs are, and so you're going to have to do all of that. Now, if through all of that articulation, you're still feeling the sense that it's pulling you away from your dream job, that just really may be an insight into where the relationship really is and how you feel about it. Because the truth is, I had exactly one thing that gave me pause with Lisa, and that was how often she got sick. And so I'm a protector more than a caretaker. So I was like, oh God, can I do that much caretaking? And the answer for me was yes, I can. But I'm glad that I thought through that. I'm glad that I went into that with my eyes open, because there has been, especially in this sort of lost year of our relationship, there was a lot of caretaking. And I wasn't very good at it, and I was very clumsy, and that was like some of the worst times for her because that isn't where I shine. But then when I clicked in with, okay, I need to solve this problem and go out and protect, and then it was like, okay, now I'm back in my element.
This.
So you really have to think through like what that pull is, why you're feeling that. Is it something that you can handle or not? Because if it really is taking you away from your dream job and you're even asking that, then chances are that develops into bitterness and becomes a problem over the long run. I just don't think when you feel like you're choosing between those two things, I don't think it ever ends anywhere good. So you have to find a way to either reconcile them or go your separate ways. I think it is very reconcilable, by the way, depending on the person and how they respond. But
right. I think what you were saying, like you have to have really honest conversations with both yourself and your partner, because if it's just that you haven't asked those questions in order to discover if they're also career oriented, or you guys just work in different places right now and you're not really connecting in a way, versus maybe their dream life is to just be on a beach somewhere all the time and not do anything, and you want to live in a city and be the CEO or whatever. Those might not line up.
right.
But yeah, I feel like those are things that I'm like always currently thinking about since I am in the dating scene.
For sure.
All right, so this next question comes from Rosa F. Russos. Love you guys. Thank you so much for sharing and making me believe there's people thinking like us around. So the question, do you believe that when you click with someone, things come without effort? Is it not easy, but maybe easier? And when it's complicated, there's a subconscious reminder to drop it.
So, no, just because Lisa and I clicked, and we clicked from date number 1, that didn't make things easy. The relationship has been a lot of work. It's been the most beautiful endeavor I've ever undertaken in my life, and nothing has given me more joy than our relationship. But to say that it was easy would be really misleading. So I think that the commitment that you have to communicating, to working on it, to defining terms, to rules of engagement, to seeing how that plays out in practice, to the ups and downs that life has, the health, the sickness, the emotional highs, the emotional lows, the financial ups, the financial downs. I mean, there's just so much. And through all of that, you're going to be doing a lot of work in the relationship. But the rewards are so insanely disproportionate to the amount of work that for me, it's never even crossed my mind. Is it worth the amount of effort?
Absolutely. So this next one comes from Sam Chen. Hi, Tom. I feel conflicted about your thought. As a doctor, I don't think we listen enough. Instead of sympathy, what do you think about empathy? So I think they're a doctor, and instead of, I guess, what they're trained to do or what he does or what they typically do is
He's conflicted about something
sympathy.
that I said, though. And
Yeah,
because
I know that it was probably within whatever question we were answering about doctors and bedside manner,
Read me
AI
the exact
taking
words
over.
again.
So I feel conflicted about your thought. As a doctor, I don't think we listen enough. Instead of sympathy, that's one sentence. What do you think about empathy?
Well, so I'm not sure about the framing around being a doctor, but so I'll answer the question about sympathy and empathy. I think there's a huge difference. I think sympathy involves having self-pity, and I think once you remove self-pity, you no longer have sympathy for other people because that also involves pitying them. and feeling sorry for them. And I think once you don't allow that in yourself, you realize that there's a much more profound emotion, which is empathy, a real understanding for what they're going through and how difficult that may be, to meet them with compassion. So empathy and compassion to me are way more interesting than sympathy. I don't think people actually most people don't want sympathy. They'd rather be understood. They'd rather feel that connection. They'd rather feel like, whoa, this person has a sincere, honest desire to help from the position of, I could very easily be in your exact shoes, and I want to provide for you what I would want people to provide for me, which is not to woe is me, cry for me, or pity me, but, want to help. So I'm essentially just defining the difference between those two words. So if that's sort of where he comes down on empathy, I'm right with him. I think that's super, super powerful.
Cool.
And forgive me for not fully understanding the
It's
question.
like missing a little context probably based on whatever conversations we were having earlier. So apologies for that. So next one comes from Brady Puryear. When you started Quest, you had to build out your own manufacturing as opposed to using a co-manufacturer. What are the benefits and pitfalls of running your own manufacturing versus the benefits of a co-manufacturer?
So for us, there really wasn't an option. So the co-manufacturers weren't prepared to roll the dice on an upstart company that would require, we never asked them, quite frankly, we moved on, but would have required them to change their equipment. And so they were just looking at the formula and thinking, well, all the equipment that we have and all the equipment that we know of would never be able to run this.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to make changes. So the benefit to being our own manufacturer in that specific case was the product could be made. So it was a 0 to 1. Like it was either not going to exist or we were going to become our own manufacturers. Now, as we've matured, we actually outsource some of the production of things because we've actually had an impact in the industry, and now more people can make products like ours because that equipment now exists. And then there's efficiencies that go along with that. They're taking all the burden of the employment, which is, especially in manufacturing, can be a pretty big burden. So it really is, we never would have been our own manufacturers if we didn't absolutely have to, because you're 99 times out of 100, you're way better off leveraging somebody who's already built out the facility. They have all the certifications. They've got all that stuff in place. I mean, it is inhuman, the amount of people and knowledge and know-how and expertise that it takes to build a manufacturing plant. It's crazy. And then the sheer volume of square footage is absolute insanity. When I think about what we built, it's fucking nuts. It is hundreds of thousands of square feet. I mean, just like as far as the eye can see, it's like people and warehouse and equipment. It was crazy. I used to just film because I'm like, this is fucking surreal. Like, how have the three of us done this? Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. So outsource it if you can, because it's a lot of work if you don't.
Simple. All right, so this next one comes from Carla Ayala. Jeez. All right. What about when there's no passion? People say you will find it eventually, but meanwhile, I live like a zombie, ? What is there to do, and how do I activate my brain to truly find it? So looking for their passion, feels like they're living like a zombie. What are the things and steps that she can do to make that passion fire light
Step
up?
1, realize that you don't find your passion, you build your passion. That's just so important. So you don't discover, you develop. That is such a critical distinction, and so many people fail to realize that. And it's literally just the language we use. It's so easy to say, oh, find your passion. So I get it. I fell into that same trap. But the reality is you don't. You're going to develop it as you look inward. You're going to find little sparks of interest. If you look inward and you see no sparks of interest, you need to encounter a lot of new things and find the things that create those little sparks of interest. You pursue a spark of interest far enough to see if it develops into a real interest or a fascination. If you find yourself deeply interested, fascinated, then you go down the path of gaining mastery, of actually getting good at that. As you travel down that path of gaining mastery, you'll find out whether you are interested enough to fight through the boring parts and all of that. And it's in that gaining of the mastery that it really develops into a passion. I don't think there is passion without that real mastery. And if you read Cal Newport's book, oh God, which one is it in?
Get
Is
So
it
Good?
Deep? Yes,
No.
thank you, Jesus. Get so good
Yeah.
they can't ignore you. In that, he details that whole philosophy about how, in going through the process of gaining mastery, that it either will or will not turn into a passion. So for a real deep dive, check that book out.
Cool. All right, so this next one comes from Yannick Ether. I'm an actor. My buddy, who's also an actor, and my personal Morpheus, and are constantly talking about the audition process. There's got to be a better way of doing this hiring process. If there were a hack, I feel like this one was meant for Dan. Do you feel like you have any expertise in acting and auditions?
No,
Okay.
0.
All right, so this next one comes from Mickey. I have
Good luck, though.
Yeah.
Go in with some confidence. Have fun.
Yeah.
You know who you should check out? Preston Smiles.
Yes.
He did a whole thing on like finally getting work once he realized that it was all about play and being confident and having fun. But I'm literally just parroting him. Preston Smiles.
Yeah, great source to check out. So the next question comes from Garrick Tate. Oh, wait. No, we did that. Oh, yes. Sorry. Discovering that you already found. Okay, so Joan Clement Oliver, what education would you like your kids to have if you were to have kids? I mean, what would they do in school? Like, what would you have them prioritize?
Oh, God. So because I'm not having kids, I can't tell you how little I think about the school system. And when I hear people talk about it, I think, wow, I'm glad that I don't have kids going through the school system. And I will say that it seems like from the outside just a deeply flawed system. Like when I think back to my own time and when I think back as to what has been valuable as an entrepreneur, they're just night and day different. I think that Jay Samit has some really interesting insights. So for a much more meaningful discussion, I would check out him. He's got his book Disrupt You. If I remember right, he goes pretty into like what education should look like. But basically it's going to be around problem solving. So finding a way to, like, if you put a gun to my head and said, you have to revolutionize education and we're going to give you $6 billion to do it. That actually, by the way, would be enough. And I would hire game designers.
That'd be cool.
And I would say, let's find a way to really build out curriculum that uses game mechanics, that uses the gamified experience where it's that addictive quality. You want to go back. And just like a video game, where you can, like, let's say you and I start playing a video game at the same time and you like crush it and you finish it in like 8 hours. And I'm over here and it takes me like 6 weekends and I'm just chipping away, get a little better. But I can still finish it too, right?
Yeah.
So just because you finished it first doesn't mean that I can't get an even better score than you, because that's the way the video games work, right? Like you get to keep doing them until you can actually execute against that stuff. So imagine that math was like that, right? That it was all these things that stacked on themselves, and once you beat this, then you could beat that, but you needed to remember this in order to do that thing, and like they all work together. So I think game mechanics, problem solving is going to become the future of education, if I had to guess. And then there's going to be a strong component of AI. My sister's actually playing with some chatbots and doing some really interesting things around that, what that could look like and how that could interface with education. So it'll be really cool to see what comes of that. It's a super interesting idea.
Especially because I feel like fields like education are always like super behind, even though they're like training you for the future, which is kind of weird. So this next one comes from Sam Chen. I'm trying to get a blog and podcast off the ground. I'm like Tom with lots of ideas. What advice do you guys have to on avoiding shiny object syndrome and staying focused?
What's happening is you think that there is a path that is right, and so you're trying to find that path. So when something new comes along, you're like, oh, actually, this is a little better, and so I should probably be doing that, instead of realizing the only magic element in getting something done is picking and sticking with it. So literally, whatever the date is going to be, you pick a date and you say, I'm going to have my answer by then. You have up until that point to find a better idea, but whatever, on that date, you're going to ride that fucking horse and you're going to take it to completion. It's that simple. And you just have to understand that your brain is going to try to convince you that this new thing is better. You have your horse, you're going to ride it to the finish. And if that finish is the failing of the business, fine, we can handle that. But what we can handle is yet another business that we don't actually launch, or blog, podcast, whatever the case may be. So getting it out there, that we're going to do. You can iterate over time, for sure, but people stop themselves. It's like, oh no, this is better. Oh no, this is better. And they like get 10% of the way through 100 different projects and never get anything across the finish line.
Yeah.
Get it across the finish line. That's what matters.
That is very true. Yeah. Sorry. So the next, I just started thinking about that. So this next question comes from Goncalo Costa. Question for you, Tom. Do you plan your meals for the week, or do you just eat whatever you want within what your diet allows you?
Oh man, I so wish that were true. So I plan them out like intellectually. I know what I'm going to eat, but I like will order a burger that day, and I cut them in half, and I have half like one day and half the next, or depending on what I'm doing, maybe half in the morning and half at night. And then I eat like Quest chips and Quest keto cups, and so most of the stuff is already in the house, save for one meal, maybe a little bit less than one meal a day on average. Yeah, but I'm so regimented. I eat the same thing every day at the same time, so it's all pretty pre-programmed.
Yeah, which is really impressive to me, by the way. Oh. So this next one comes from Michael Anthony, and I think he's referring to the vestibulating device.
Mm-hmm.
Vestibulator?
It's not actually
that's not
called that.
But like that's the name we like dubbed it.
Technically, it's called Modius Health. So it's the vestibular system is what you're stimulating. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's vestibular stimulation. Technically.
Okay, so that device.
Yep.
How does that simulation feel to you? Is it like floating?
It is
like
literally like being in a car.
Like being in a car.
It feels exactly like you're in a car. And so imagine one of the reasons I wanted to do it while I was having the conversation with Jason is I wanted people to see like there's no discomfort. It's not hard to like have a conversation. You
do
literally
this regularly.
What's that?
Like you do this regularly.
Yeah, I do it every day.
In, like meetings and stuff with it.
Yeah.
On.
So even though you're not moving, this is what it feels like. I mean, that's it, right? So it's like this slow, sort of gentle rocking motion, like you're turning. But I don't get any sense of car sickness or anything like that. It's just like a super gentle sway. Now, I crank mine. So I got one of the developer kits so that I can turn this motherfucker all the way up, and I can use it for as long as I want. So I've sort of sidestepped some of the regulations on this one. So I'm cranking this thing literally all the way up.
Full force all the time.
So if you're putting it on like one of the lower levels, you probably won't even feel it. Other than like you do feel depending on right where you set it, you feel like the little tick of the electricity. So, but other than that, like anything, you get so used to it. Like I'll forget, like, is it on? So sometimes, like when I'm turning it up, it's because I'm like, there's no way this is still going. But it's just because you really start to get used to it. Now, if you try to, like if you're walking around, you do feel like you're walking in a slowly moving car. So like there is that slight sense of it messing with your balance. So you definitely don't want to drive while you're wearing it because it's messing with your balance system. Yeah. So you want to like be cognizant, don't drive heavy machinery and stuff like that. But it's not throwing you around. Once again, feels like a light
sway.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. So this next question comes, this is also about the Modius Health device. If the head device, if it stimulates the hypothalamus?
The hypothalamus, if that's what he's asking? Or did he say HPA?
He says HT, to think you're active when just sitting there, thereby tricking the body into reducing the set point. Can a device reverse that functionality for a person to gain weight and or muscle while onlymoving at their set point average? I feel like this is a dope math equation that we should send to Jason.
I'd be really interested to ask Jason if there's any literature on that. I'm going to guess that the answer is no, because what it's doing is telling your body that it's moving a lot. So there's no way to, via stimulation, I'm guessing, but this just makes so much sense to me. There's no way via stimulation to tell your body, oh, I'm still, right? It's the absence of stimulation that tells your body that you're still. So my gut instinct is no. And if you have trouble putting on weight, let's gene swap because, oh my God. The grass is always greener. I would so love to have that problem. That would be amazing. I want to ask Drama how he stays so, like, He's admittedly a little skinny, but homie is like lean. Like that kid does not suffer from obesity in the slightest. I'm just like, how? Like, is he just that? Maybe he's that disciplined, right? Maybe he's got it. And it's here I am, that asshole that's like, oh, he's just genetically gifted. And there
he's
he
just
is, like
sitting there like
right.
eating pizza and chips all day.
And secretly, he's doing like 6 hours of cardio. I have no idea, but
yeah,
looking
I mean,
at him,
he
it
used to
does.
skateboard and stuff a lot, and that's like a lot of
I used to skateboard
cardio.
terribly, I might add.
And
I have no
activity.
grace. I'm devoid of grace.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it's not good.
have it. Yeah, can't win.
I'll
them
have
all.
our thing. Skateboarding
Can't win
is
'em all.
not mine, but I loved it so much.
All right. Sorry, I've done these. I skipped around so I could get to the before 6 a.m.
Okay.
questions, so I'm returning back
So
to
have
the
we
ones
finished
that,
all 6 a.m.? Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yes, because some of the other ones were specifically for guests, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So we finished our
Respect.
6 a.m. ones,
Nice.
so yay!
And forgive us if we didn't ask your question while the guest was still here.
Yes.
I very much apologize for that. We'll try to
Yeah.
get it to the guest.
Because I'm like, some of these ones I feel like if we
Won't
could get
promise
to
that.
like Jason, like maybe
Yeah.
we can
Well, one,
do some type
hopefully
of
I'll be seeing Jason. I know he'd
so
love
you
to
can-
come back, and we need a more informal show. We'll talk more about that later.
We'll figure
but
it out. Because I know, like, some of these were really great questions, and unfortunately, we didn't get to them when the
Mm-hmm.
guest was here, and so we apologize for that.
Yeah, 100%.
But hopefully, you still enjoyed the conversations that were happening. Okay.
And one more time, Unto the Bridge
Yes.
with the grand prize. Name, or I should say, identify all 7 of the Easter eggs that we hid throughout this live event, literally from back in the first hour to all the way through to the last hour. There are somewhere in there 7 Easter eggs, and I will give you a hint. My changing of shirts is not one. Cindy's
outfits are
changing of
not.
wardrobe is not one. The dogs coming on in outfits are not ones. So it is other things. So be sure to check them out. Let us know if you find them. Send them to connect@impacttheory.com, and be sure to share this feed, as that is also a qualifying element.
Oh,
All right.
we're about to kill it. All right. So this next one comes from Trey Frankhauser. Tom, how do you suggest contacting individuals to learn from them? Not so much as a mentor, as great as that would be, but to hear the knowledge that they may not be able to put into their books.
So as a mentor?
Maybe
Like
it's
getting,
like
so
an
if you're looking for one-on-one interaction with information that's not available in their books, like you're either asking for a private lecture or you're asking essentially for mentorship. And I think just trying to sort of like dial it back and not make it seem so egregious, like one, imagine this for a second. So imagine you reach out to somebody and they've got 50,000 followers. They're probably getting hit up 4 or 5 times a day, even at 50,000, right? So now imagine, like, I consider myself a very, very small influencer at this point. Obviously, going to be a lot bigger soon, but that I think just from a numbers perspective, but ecosystem wide, we're at 300,000. So you can imagine I'm getting hit up by 10, 15, 20 people a day, every day, that want me to do something one-on-one with them. So that just from a time perspective is unconscionable to spend that time on a one-on-one basis, like really breaking things down and taking people deep. That's why it's like, if you ask me a simple question, I'm gonna give it to you right there in the DM. I'm super grateful for the reach out, for the connection. I love that. But if you're looking for like, hey, what are like the 10 tips and tricks that you left out of your book? That's like, okay, well, hit me up with that during a live, right? So that we can have an equal exchange of value. I need questions to bring value to the community. I want all of them to be able to hear it. So now you're engaging with me. It's really making the feed feel lively. I'm super grateful for that. So now it's like we've got an equal value exchange. Also, it doesn't take me as long to say it as it's going to take me to type it. So understanding like that, like where can you be bringing equal value, and understanding, like, put your ask in context of all the other things that they're doing. And that's going to get you a much better rate. So one, I will just tell you, when you write an influencer, keep it short, because a lot of people write to them. And when I see those like long IG DMs that literally like scroll,
those are so hard.
it's like, whoa. Like there are times where, because I really want to reply to everybody, so I'll be like, okay, I'm going to answer this guy. I just need to go do whatever first. And
That's how I feel about
and then
email.
you get lost.
That's how I end up like not answering a lot of
Yeah.
emails, because they're just like slightly too long for me, and then I
Correct.
just forget, because I'm notoriously bad. It's between like 2 minutes and like 4 months from now getting an email back
Yeah.
from me sometimes. And then to say, like, give an example, maybe for context, my sister like has reached out to authors like after reading their book to like have them maybe clarify a piece of research that she saw in there or, you know, follow up in that regard. And it wasn't necessarily seeking a mentor. It was just kind of being like, I really loved your book. Like, this made me think. So I feel like that is also usually like an acceptable method. I think one of our guests even mentioned doing
Yeah.
something like that. But as you
Naveen.
said, you probably shouldn't deep dive to be like, I want to fake ask you a question so you can be like my one-on-one mentor. But
Basically.
yeah. All right. So this next question comes from Tim Smith. Do you have any tips on balancing working in your business versus working on your business?
Yeah, wow. So I'm assuming you read Michael E. Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited. I think that's one of the most important books for any upstart entrepreneur to read. Like, that book is so critical not to get sucked into exactly that, right? Where you're just working in your business all the time. Man, that's an 80-20. If you're spending more than 20% of your time working on your business, unless you're a solopreneur, it's so dangerous. Like, you've really got to get out. You've got to be thinking, how do I grow this? How do I scale this? How do I monetize this? Otherwise, you're going to get just stuck in that hamster wheel of you're taking care of today's duties and never getting any farther than that. So that is a dangerous game. Got to find a way. Even if that means bringing on a partner, you've got to find a way. You can't be spending all of your time.
Awesome. And without knowing it, you answered our last question.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much. What an incredible experience this has been. Just insanely grateful to you guys for showing up, for engaging. This has really been absolutely incredible. We feel very supported around here. And hopefully you guys got a ton of value out of this. We certainly tried to make it entertaining as well as informative. And I really am excited to get your feedback on some of the new segments that we tried. What did you like? What did you not like? What would you change? The feedback would be so useful. So let us know what you think. That would be amazing. All right. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Peace.